And good evening, everyone. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So cataracts in children come in a variety of morphology. Like this is a lamellar cataract. This is a lamellar plus sutural cataract. This is a lentiglobus and there is a PFV stalk here. This is a child with microspherophakia and the crystalline lens luxated into the anterior chamber. This is ectopia lentis and this is anterior lenticonus seen associated with Alport syndrome. So pediatric cataract is not an extension of the adult cataract per se. The anterior capsule is very elastic, tends to run away during rhexis. The scleral rigidity is low, which means that you need to suture these incisions, and there is a lot of vitreous upthrust that could also contribute to extension of the rhexis. The epithelial cells are mitotically very active, and even if you leave a small strand of cortex, you could trigger off a PCO, which may be visual axis opacification that may be difficult to manage. All maneuvers require general anesthesia, and cataract surgery is just the beginning of a road. There are a lot of other issues at hand. So if you operate a cataract in a child and put in an artificial lens, you take away the accommodation. So we have these following criteria. These are only a general guide. I'm sorry. Hydrophobic acrylic IOLs are the IOLs of choice. And the adult size IOLs can be used if the white to white diameter is more than 10.5 millimeter. I would not put in an IOL if the white to white corneal diameter is less than 9 millimeter. For bilateral cataracts, the age of IOL implantation is above 1 to 1.5 years. It was 1.5 years. Now, progressively, we are also implanting in 1 year olds. And for unilateral cataracts, more than 6 months. This is my guideline. So remember that the eye is still growing. I have shifted recently to using the Barrett's Universal 2 formula. And because of myopic shift, you need to do keratometry and you need to have the axial length done for every child. For older than 2 years, generally we get the IOL master. And for less than that, you need to do it under short general anesthesia. So for children less than a year of age, this is the suggested undercorrection. A simple formula to remember is 7 minus age would be the anticipated refractive error. But this is only a general guide. For example, if the child is mentally retarded, would not use the glass or is poorly compliant to glass, the fellow eye is myopic, then the undercorrection would be a little less. So if you have a unilateral cataract, the earliest I've operated is by 4 to 6 weeks, and for bilateral, 6 to 8 weeks. The problems with operating a little early is that you may trigger off a lot of glaucoma, and this is because of presumed inflammatory damage to an immature trabecular meshwork. This is presuming you have access to safe anesthesia. And for older than 8 years, you may not need a PPC and anterior vitrectomy, an exception for the mentally retarded, for those who are unlikely to follow up, and for inflammatory, for post-uveitic cataracts and traumatic, where even in older age groups, we may do a PPC and anterior vitrectomy. So the first step is to measure the white to white diameter. And I use a temporal scleral tunnel. I've shifted to using a temporal scleral tunnel. The key to doing a rhexis, this is arguably the most important step in pediatric cataract surgery, because if you don't get an intact rhexis, if you don't get a round rhexis, you are in for a lot of trouble, and manual CCC is the best. The key to getting a good rhexis is frequent regrasping, frequent injections of viscoelastic. A lot of patients take care in negotiating the subincisional area where you are most likely to extend the rhexis. And this is for older than 4 years. I use a Utrata forceps. For less than 1 year old child, I use the tip technique that was proposed by Hamada and Ken Nischel et al. You make 2 incision, one distally, one proximally, push this to the other, and pull this to this. You almost always get a rhexis, very valuable in less than 1 year. So I push this distally and pull the other proximally. So almost always you get a rhexis. The problem with older than 1 year is you don't really get a rhexis of the optimal size. It's usually a smaller rhexis, for which he has suggested a 4 incision push-pull technique. But I think older than 1 year, I propose this older than between 1 to 4 years, where you use the side port to do a rhexis. Again, I use trypan blue only in those patients where there is no glow. Otherwise, I do not use trypan blue. For older than, for between 1 to 4 years, you can use the side port and use a micro forceps to guide your rhexis. So it is very important to have anterior rhexis, especially when you are planning an IOL implantation. So this arguably is the most important step. I would repeat this. So if you don't have a rhexis, there is a lot of trouble that is going to happen. So once again, the same general principles. You need to frequently regrafts. Frequent re-injections of viscoelastic, not so often needed. For the beginners, they can use a high molecular weight viscoelastics and aim for optimal size rhexis. Take care in the subincisional area. And for intumescent cataracts, you can actually do a smaller rhexis and you can enlarge it later on after the lens aspiration. Yeah, so this is for the 1 to 4 year age group. Lens aspiration, there's a lot of controversy about hydrodissection. I usually do a gentle hydrodissection. Of course, it has to be avoided whenever you suspect a posterior capsular dehiscence. And the advantage is that presumably there is less rate of visual axis opacification. And for me, removal of subincisional cortex becomes much easy with a coaxial IA probe in which you just need a single incision. So posterior capsular rhexis is slightly easier because the capsule is not that elastic. You have to do a sideways puncture. Try not to get vitreous disturbance, because if you get vitreous disturbance, the rhexis becomes a little complicated. I do it before IOL implantation when I'm implanting a single piece IOL, and I do it after IOL implantation whenever I do a 3-piece IOL. Because 3-piece IOLs, whenever you use an injector, they turn in the anterior chamber and sometimes they can rip the rhexis, and that causes a lot of trouble. IOL implantation, you need to inject a lot of viscoelastics in the capsular fornices and make sure your leading haptic goes into the bag. So this is very important that your leading haptic goes into the bag. And in case you implant a 3-piece IOL, you can nudge the IOL a little bit, do a rhexis after IOL implantation. This is a lot more clumsy. And you may not get a rhexis of the optimal size. Yeah, but this is the problem if you do not implant the IOL in the back, which sometimes happens in traumatic cataracts. You may have a patient with 6/6 vision, but you will have an optic capture, and sometimes this can cause an iris Bombay and cause a lot of trouble later on. So for traumatic, so the key here is try to implant the IOL in the bag as much as possible. And if you have a very good rhexis, please make sure that it doesn't extend. The possible times where intact rhexis can, where otherwise good rhexis can extend is when the IOL starts to turn in the anterior chamber. This happens with 3-piece IOLs when you're injecting. And secondly, when you're doing a vitrectomy, if you, I typically use 150 millimeters of vacuum and a high cut rate. While removing the probe, you should be very careful that it does not cut the anterior or the posterior rhexis. For traumatic cataracts, if you don't get a good rhexis, you can make use of this band technique, again proposed by Ken Nischel et al. So here you have to implant the IOL behind the band. Please do not cut this band. You can always yag it later if you feel it's a disturbance. Do not cut this band, and you can make use of this band. Inject your IOL behind the band, and usually there is no optic capture. So in traumatic cataracts, sometimes it is very difficult to get a anterior rhexis because there's hardly any, rhexis remaining. And in case the band is not there, you can do an optic capture of a 3-piece IOL. You cannot do optic capture in a single-piece IOL. You can do an optic capture for a 3-piece IOL, which has been implanted in the sulcus. So these are 2 very good tips to avoid this. So this patient was a traumatic cataract. This patient had traumatic cataract, so we could not do a biometry. The anterior chamber was shallow, and just want you to have a look. So we did it in 2 stages. We repaired the perforation. In this patient, just 2 stab incisions are enough, and you can use a bimanual rhexis. Finish off the PPC. Please note that the PPC tends to fibrose very fast in traumatic cataracts. So this is a retinal forceps being used. I mean, these retinal forceps are very, very, nimble, but they are also very delicate. So if you use it, make sure you don't damage it. And this is a technique that I learned from Dr. Titial, that is your assistant injecting visco, and you can do the vitrectomy. And the secondary IOL, this was done 1 week later. Please note, a lot of fibrosis here. So if you delay the secondary IOL implantation after biometry, I had to use the fellow eye keratometry, axial length we could do here. So not so much of fibrosis, just 1 week in traumatic cataract. So secondary IOL implantation, you may not, delay. And always remember to suture these wounds. I use 10-0 Vicryl. Even if you do a scleral tunnel, I always suture these wounds because the scleral rigidity is low. I prefer suturing in less than 12-year age group. And even 12 to 14 also, I prefer to suture only. I use 10-0 Vicryl. And my choice is for a scleral tunnel temporal incision. I do not suture these stab incisions. So this is a 2-year post-op. Note the very good rhexis. The PPC was bigger. Now it has shrunken to this size. And cataract surgery is always the beginning of a road. You need to manage aphakia, pseudophakia, amblyopia, PCO, and low vision. Just one tip for the postgraduates who may be attending the session. And so this is astigmatic cross in a less than 2-year-old. So you've got 21 and 21. In less than 2-year-old, we assume a working distance of half meter. So you need to subtract 2 for the working distance, and the child's interest is in near. So I give bifocals only beyond 2 years and progressives beyond 4 to 5 years. Bifocals, I prefer giving executive bifocals, but for less than 2 to 2.5 years, the child's interest is for near. So you would give a 2 diopter overcorrection. So which means 2 diopters subtracted for the working distance and 2 diopters added to give the child a good near vision. So that means whatever you get in the astigmatic cross, the same thing you have to give. Contact lenses, I have very little experience. I would request the SN faculty to comment on this. I've given for 1 or 2. I prefer the Silsoft lenses. For bilateral aphakia, there's no debate. For less than 1 year, we would give aphakic glasses, and also for the less than 9 millimeter. There was an audience question, how would you manage these microcorneas? Yes, for less than 9 millimeter corneas, I do not implant an IOL in the pediatric age group. And for bilateral, aphakic glasses are the treatment of choice. Now, the Silsoft lenses can be given for a couple of patients. I have, for many patients, I've used these unilateral aphakics and taken them for secondary IOL once they were over 1 year of age. So contact lenses, once again, I want the SN faculty to comment. So I have used in a couple of patients Silsoft lenses, but there's a lot of problem with compliance, lens loss, and the IIT has also reported a lot of infections. And this is a suggested regime for patching for unilateral cataracts. And this is unilateral pseudophakia. I mean, you would be lucky if you get a patient more than, let's say, 6 to 9 month old with good corneal diameter. No debates, put in a IOL. So follow-up should be every 3 months. As I said, cataract surgery is the beginning of a very long road. So this is my suggested follow-up regime. For the first 2 years, you have to follow up every 3 months. And at every remember to record the corneal diameter as well. I did not add it here. The refraction, a progressive myopic shift, a progressively increasing cupping, or a progressive increasing axial length could be a sign that the child may be developing glaucoma. And of course, retinal detachment is another complication which should never be missed. It's a rare complication. Nevertheless, I mean, we should check the fundus. And of course, in addition, we need to look at the slit lamp. Please remember that if there is any vitreous strand that has been left out, I mean, I make sure that the pupil is round and the capsular margins are also round. Just in case it gets left out, I mean, I would recommend removing it, even though it requires another general anesthesia, because sometimes in the late period, they can contract and they can distort the anterior segment. So secondary IOL in bilateral aphakia and unilateral aphakia, I usually prefer to put it around 9 months to 1 year. But in bilateral aphakia, usually around the age of 5 years, when the child would go into school and where loss of aphakic glasses would be an issue, or in case I am doing a secondary intervention early, for example, a soft after cataract or something for strabismus or a mentally retarded child, then possibly earlier. So this is a bilateral secondary IOL. IOL implantation has to be done in the sulcus. And PCO in children, if you do not do a PPC, can be as high as 95%. I do not rely on YAG in less than 8-year-old. And even in those who are unlikely to come for follow-up, because YAG disrupts the soft aftercortex. This YAG cannot be done in this situation because it disrupts the soft aftercortex into the vitreous, and it can cause a lot of inflammation. So thank you so much. And there are 2 questions from my side. One is to the SN faculty on their experience in the use of contact lens, and of course, CR Madam would add.
Mr. Sunil, you have not looked at the time, I think.
Yeah, there was no warning, so I thought I was on time.
No warning at all. Answer to Dr. Mulli's question?
I think I have contact lenses for unilateral aphakics. We prefer to give RGP lenses because easier to insert compared to Silsoft lenses. Silsoft more expensive, more chances of infection, and sometimes. So I have always given RGP in unilateral aphakics, and I have sometimes given glasses also if parents find it very difficult to manage. And actually, when we look at our data of unilateral cataracts in whom I have rehabilitated with contact lenses, glasses, and in whom I have put IOL, I have not really found any difference. Something similar to IATS study in unilateral cataracts. I'm not talking about bilateral. In unilateral cataracts, even in bilateral cataracts, those who have nystagmus probably do same with IOLs as with aphakic glasses, as you have mentioned. So those who have no nystagmus, they are probably going to do better with bilateral cataract, with IOL, without IOL. So there's no harm in giving aphakic correction even in unilaterally, because I don't see any reason to put the parents on guilt trip that they are not putting the IOL, and they are not, if they can manage, if they are city based, if they have easy replacement, sure, go ahead. That is ideally a better solution than aphakic glasses. But if they are not able to manage, no reason to not give anything. I would rather put them on unilateral aphakic glasses. Children don't have that much of an isophonia. They tolerate unilateral aphakic glasses much better than adults. So yes, RGP, Silsoft, if you have facilities, parents are willing to put in that effort always. And I have done, there are some very successful contact lens wearers who started when they were a few months old and are now 9 years or 8 years old, in whom there is microconia. I have not been able to put an IOL later also. They are still using it. But if you are not going to use it, or you're not able to use it I'm talking about say from 1 to 3 years of age. After 3 years, if you can definitely put in an secondary IOL if required, if the anatomical parameters of the eye are normal.
There are 3 audience questions. Can I ask?
No,
Yes.
I don't think so. Yeah, 4 more speakers and